Welcome everyone to Managua Education. This is the second interview and the fifth one for Cultura de Infancia. We have today with us Toni Christie. Thank you so much
That's
for
a
having
pleasure.
me here.
Yeah.
It's someone I really admire here in New Zealand. Is a big reference in early childhood education in New Zealand, as they've been building Childspace since 1993. That's right. They have a long history of related to environments, infants, leadership. They write books. They have a magazine, and probably she's gonna tell us a bit more of the journey you have had.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm really blessed to have her here today with us. And yeah, if you're ready, I'm gonna make some questions for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For more than 30 years we've been providing early childhood, but our journey actually started when I couldn't find a place to work. I was very young, I was only 20, and everywhere that I went to work there was never enough time or resources or money to do things the way I really felt children deserved to have them. So I would come home very upset, and Robin, my husband, said, let's just do our own. And being just 20, I didn't really think much of, well, everything's possible when you're that age, right? So we just went ahead. We pulled our student loans together, we bought a house, we lived in one bedroom, and our staff room was our lounge, and the rest of our house was a preschool, and that's how we started. And that was the beginning of the journey. I'm really pleased the parents only caught me in my pyjamas once in that whole time that we worked there and lived there. And then we very quickly got a reputation for providing a different quality, a next level for early childhood, and we quickly grew from one little service to 4. And that's what we have now. We made a really conscious decision to stop with 4. And they're still in family homes that have been adapted, so there's a real feel to the Childspace centres. They're not purpose-built centres, they're not institutions, they're very much a family home that's been modified to bring children in. So they have small licences. Our smallest is at Karori, and that has just 20 infants, and then our biggest licence is 62, and that's in 2 villas that are next door to each other. So we still kept to that home-based kind of feeling, and we have now 4 small early childhood services, plus Robin has a workshop where he designs children's playgrounds and furnishings and equipment, and his workshop really services our early childhood services at Childspace, so he can keep our environments really beautiful and attend to the many requests of our teachers for shelves and sandpits and different things being shifted or changed, and he's very good and very patient with that. And then my role now involves much more of our Early Childhood Institute, which is where we are having this interview. We host study groups from all over the world. They come to observe our programs and to learn from us. We run classes, and so we've been involved in a couple of action research projects for government. We also deliver CELO projects for government. So the Institute is in its own right, sort of fills a space in the early childhood world here that is about professional development and upskilling teachers. So it's kind of got all those parts to it. Childspace is multifaceted, and it's really grown very organically. So we've only done these things because it wasn't available. So we started delivering a conference because we were going to the conferences and they were so political, and we thought, well, let's have a conference that's just for teachers and it's about teaching and learning, and that's been a very popular thing as well. So we kind of just been filling gaps. We put out a quarterly magazine And that magazine has relevant articles from practitioners by practitioners, so it's a very, and that gets sent out all over the world as well. If you're going to ask me what keeps me strong and keeps me motivated, it's definitely the outcomes. It's about children. It's about doing better for children. It's about promoting the rights of children to having really good experiences in their early childhood, and that just keeps me grounded, keeps me passionate. And as far as the sheer hard work of creating something like this, that's a team effort. You know, it's about surrounding yourself with good people. And I start first of all with my husband, Robin, and you know, he is someone who just keeps me very strong, and you know, we're a very good team, and so we look after our team and surround ourselves with good people, and that really creates a wonderful kaupapa or philosophy or feeling in our organisation. The values, we kind of developed this set of values cards, and it is a good place to start when you're starting with a team. There's this, you know, the philosophy can be whatever it is, and the philosophy can be paragraphs long, and it can write about how you feel about how children learn and all of those things. But as a team, you cannot build or grow or even begin anything without first sitting down and talking about what your own values are, so that each member of the team comes from their own background, culture, family upbringing, experiences. Everything that has affected them will have affected their value set. And when they come to this place, they have these firm values. Someone else is coming from a different place and they have these firm values. So sitting down and talking as a team, what are my values and how do they fit in with this team? So what will we decide will be our values? That comes first before philosophy. So that, you know, one of the reasons I think that Childspace has been so successful is that we are not, you know, we have a couple of values we feel really strongly about, and really mostly it's about having respect for children, that children who come to Childspace should feel accepted and loved. And that however each team wants to go about that, that's over to them. So we give a huge amount of autonomy to our individual teams. For me and Robin, it's that children should feel respected, loved, lovable. Now, one centre might decide that their values are creativity and joy, curiosity and kindness. That will, in its way, enable children to feel respect and loved and lovable. Another service might say that their values are really about gentleness and compassion, and it doesn't matter. What matters is that those people in that space share a common value or set of values that will mean that every practice they have has to come back to those values and say, is that kind? Is that gentle? If it's not, we have to review the practice. And that to me is really important. And I guess as the director of a place, you cannot put 170 children first. You have to step back and say, well, who do I care for? How does my part in this ensure that 170 children get the very best care they can? And my part in that is really the professional development for our teachers. We have Lauren, who looks after our centre managers, and that's her role really, is to make sure that those centre managers or kai whakahaere, the leaders of each of our teams, the 4 leaders, feel that their needs are really met. Those team leaders then have to look after their teachers and make sure that their needs are really met, their kaiako, their teachers, their adults, you know. And then it's each of them who has their own group of children who can ensure that. So it's kind of this, we've got to make sure we're looking after the right people's needs. And in my role, it's not actually about the children anymore. It's actually about the adults who are caring for the children. And that's a common mistake people make, is thinking, I'm the director of this place, so I'm going to look after the children. You actually can't do that. You know, there's too many children for them to be your focus. the focus has to dial back and say, actually, it's the teachers that I need to care for, just in the same way as the teachers will care for the children. Traditional management looks like a pyramid, where the manager's here and this is the next rung of people and so forth. But I like to think of it much more like being in the roots of a tree. So as the director, I feel like I'm nourishing the roots of a tree. That means that our teachers and our directors and all our people in our organisation can grow in their own weird and wonderful way. As long as it's good for children, then it's good for Childspace. But it means I never know from day to day what direction people are going to take, but that's exciting, and it's part of the passion for me. Is someone will ring me up and say, Toni, we're going to try this, and I'm always yes, because as long as it's good for children, it's a great idea. And if we just always do the same thing we've always done, we'll never kind of aim for doing better. Yeah. So management being, doing the thing right, but leadership is doing the right thing. And I see potential for our leaders to really innovate and flourish. And it's only when you're given the freedom and the autonomy to make crazy decisions that you will grow and learn. When you're always being told what to do, then you have less innovation in your organisation. One of the courses that I really enjoy teaching is Leading with Heart and Soul, and so that's a really values-driven day of leadership learning, and that that's teaching people who are long past their undergrad level, but they've been maybe teaching for a while, they've been leading for a little bit, and maybe they've kind of come away a little bit sometimes from their values, and so this course brings them back to what's important and gives them a kind of a compass to go forward. And I love that, because what we need more than ever in early childhood in New Zealand is good, strong, capable, able leaders, and then we can build great teams that will have consistency and really be sustainable for a long period. Because what we have in New Zealand at the moment, and I know in Australia as well, and probably further afield, is a lot of turnover in early childhood, and that means that these teachers are maybe staying for some time, but then they're leaving to either another service or, another career often, and that's just what that's doing for children. Means that they're not getting that consistency that they require to build relationships and therefore feel safe enough to learn. Yeah. Well, one of my personal values is courage, and I believe I act very courageously with regulators. I am not prepared to take no for an answer, and I will push to ensure that what they're asking is actually in the regulations. So quite often we get regulators or, people with their tick list who have a personal opinion about something or a way that something should be done. And actually, if that's not in the regulation, then, if they can show me in black and white where that is, then obviously I'll do it. But I know the regulations just as well as they do. So they know that they can't trick me into doing something, because I know what I'm allowed to do, and then I simply push the boundaries as far as I possibly can in the name of children having the best possible start in life. And so when that rationale is clear and when you can articulate your rationale really well, I think it's possible that I scare some of the regulators. So we have the reverse situation. Yeah.
I guess it's also power, right? The knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge is power, exactly. Yeah. So I'm always saying to people, know your regulations, read your licensing criteria. They're not long documents. There's not a lot to them. If you know them and you understand them, then you can abide by them, and you can also push them as far as you possibly can in the name of the best possible outcomes for children. Yeah. We're so overly regulated. It's not. The problem is it's detrimental to children, because you're taking the most qualified people out of the face-to-face so that they can fill in mindless documentation. And it's kind of that issue of, are you in the moment, or are you busy recording the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. With all that responsibility and so forth comes the accountability. So we have to do these things, but at Childspace we're always looking for ways to work smarter, not harder. So we're trying to get the paperwork down to what's manageable, useful, and is going to tick the box for the regulators, but isn't going to take us too far away from the children. So we're always working to streamline systems and to take them back to the basics, not to get too over-involved, because at the end of the day, what we're doing is working with very young children who need us face-to-face with them in order for them to grow. What we write about that, how we record when we change their nappy, all of those things are secondary to the main thing, which is to be with those children and to be a good person in front of children, providing a good role model, using all our knowledge. And I think I hope to see a time when we have the same trust in early childhood as other sectors of education, because when you are a qualified, certified early childhood teacher, that means you've done a 3-year degree, you've done another 2 years of mentoring and understanding, so you have a qualification that's taken 5 years. That should come with a certain amount of trust from the regulators that you know what you're doing, so I'm often trying to push back with regulators to say, for example, I was acting as an advocate for a centre director who had a visit from the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Education person had asked her, when would you call a parent if there was an accident or something like that? And I had to interrupt and say, I wonder if you would ask that kind of question to anyone else with a 5-year qualification and 20 years of experience, because that question is entirely contextual. It would depend on the child, the adult, the injury, the nature of the injury, the timing, what else was on. There's a lot to that question, and trusting our professional judgment is the number one thing I would ask for from regulators. We're not morons. We don't need that really heavy top-down kind of regulation. What we need is to be able to have that freedom and autonomy. So, just like I am as a director with my team, I would like the Ministry of Education to be with Early Childhood Services as, yes, we trust you. Give it a go. Let us know. Keep us close. These people in the Ministry of Education, they're all called advisors. But if you're called for advice, you're likely to get a big stick. And I remember, because I've been doing this more than 30 years, I remember when they were advisors. And you could call them and say, hey, we've got this thing. And they would come in and they would help you. They would give you advice. And that, to me, is a system working. The system's broken when the advisors are carrying a big stick, and that's it. Yeah. Early childhood is, it's incredibly complex, obviously, and we're dealing with, in my opinion, the most important time in every person's life is their early childhood. That if we get that foundation right in early childhood, then we know that this person can succeed in life. We know they will grow up to be a comfortable, happy, contributing member of society. This is just, to me, that's so important, so crucial that we get it right. Now, parents are the expert in their child, and teachers or kaiako are the expert in child development. So this partnership is real. It has to be a partnership. We can't assume we know more than the parent, because the parent is the expert in their child. So that partnership has to be really worked through. But also, there are some things that we really believe in, like children sleeping outside, for example. A parent who doesn't want their child to sleep outside won't come to our centre. You know what I mean? Because that's our philosophies disagree. So there are some things where we would say, okay, well, there's probably another place that might suit you better. If their little baby is so precious that they can't get mud on them, they're not going to suit Childspace. We're going to get dirty, we're going to get messy. So it's about getting the right fit. And the beauty of early childhood in New Zealand is that there is this huge range of early childhood options for families. And I think that's one of the most, worldwide we are looked at as a great system because we've been allowed to flourish and innovate in that way. So there's everything from parent playgroups where you go along with your child, to full child, daycare where, you may be leaving your child at 7 in the morning and coming back at 6 at night. There's everything in between, Montessori, kohanga reo, full language immersion. There's something for every parent, and it's about finding the right service for them, I think. And for us, we focus on doing what we do really well, and we attract parents. We have very long waiting lists, so it's not a big deal for us to, change the ways that we're doing, the ways that we're working to fit one parent. We would rather have the conversation about what's best for their child, and then maybe they need to find another service if what we're providing isn't working. Yeah. And we'll do everything we can. We try to individualise our program so that we can cater for every child and every parent's aspirations for their child, but sometimes you get that situation where there's probably a better fit for you somewhere else, All our children sleep outside, and again, that was just one of our managers once upon a time, maybe 20 years ago now, ringing me up and saying, "Toni, I think we're going to sleep outside." And I'm like, okay, right. I didn't even have to say, have you thought about, because she'd thought about those things, she'd brought the parents along. We've had quite a long road of helping bring the regulators along with this idea. But I think that when you're passionate about something and you can write good policy, have good practices, there's nothing's impossible. It's just about having a good rationale for why you want to do it the way you want to do it, and then going ahead and making that trial, and if it doesn't work, that's okay, we learn, and we try again and we do things differently. But yes, we're very fortunate. We have all our children sleeping outside, and it works very well for us. We find that children are waking more rested. They're breathing fresh air. We look back at how we used to have sleep rooms, and we look back and see those spaces as being like little germ chambers because they're just recycling the air, and in a dark, warm space where germs love to thrive. Whereas when we're outside, all that fresh air is coming into the body, and it's just, to us now, it's an absolute no-brainer. We love that our children sleep outside, and they love it too. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it makes for an irresistible invitation. Who doesn't want to sleep outside? Yeah. Of course. Definitely, we're hugely inspired by nature. Nature, to us, we're a part of nature. Human beings are nature. It's in our nature to want to be connected, to be outside, and to be, it's exactly where we go. If we have a child who's unsettled, we will take them outside. And to have this absolutely free-flowing program where children can choose to be outside whenever they like in any weather is really important to us, because we feel like it's only us adults who limit the connection with nature. It's, we're the power. We have the power. We have the control. We can close the door, and we need teachers who see the beauty and the awe and the wonder of what the natural world has to offer children as a teacher. And that's all they need in an environment is grass and trees and sand and water and fire. Every part of nature needs to be considered and included in a really good early childhood program. Yeah. I guess looking through a Māori lens, something that makes Childspace special is definitely our manaakitanga, the way that I hope people feel when they come to our service, when they come to professional development with us. Manaakitanga is about making people feel important, welcome, belong, and that's special. Whanaungatanga also, and that feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself, so being part of a community and ensuring that we connect with our whole community. Obviously, kaitiakitanga, that's our value of the natural world and our belief in protecting the natural world, looking after sustainability, upcycling, recycling, doing what we can in regard to protecting and preserving nature. And I guess ako, that idea of teacher is learner, because we're all, from me through our whole organisation, we're all lifelong learners. So every single one of us has this passion and drive to learn more. And I always feel like, I've been doing this more than 30 years, but I feel like there's so much more to know, and there's so much that I don't know. And I feel really humbled that I get to go and speak to groups around the world. And often, in the interactions I'm having, I'm learning so much more about things I just didn't even know. Or I pick up a new book and I think, gosh, I never thought about it like that. And that ako, that learning, that constant learning, is a really big part of who we are. We'd never get to a point where, okay, I know everything and this is how it's going to be. Is always, I've just learned something new. We're going to try something new, or we could, let's think about this as another option. Or I went and visited this service and it has, these incredible ideas around protected spaces, and perhaps we can have a think about how our environment, can respond to that new information. So we're always learning, we're always trying, we're always failing, but when we have the success, it's worth all the failure, because we know we're learning and stretching and growing. Yeah. I feel at the moment, really content. Like, if you'd asked me this maybe before COVID, we had in the plans to build this nature school, and we have this space, this land, and we've built, we've created the plans for a beautiful school for immersing children in nature. And this plot of land is on 10 acres, and we're changing it back to native bush. And we had thought that building this dream would be like, that's our, maybe that's the last thing that we get to do, because, life is short. You have to make decisions about what you choose to do. And that would have been what I thought. But I think our perspective has shifted a little bit, and we're really interested right now in getting a van and taking the children that we have and the centres that we have to this beautiful space where it's just full nature, 10 acres of nature. And actually run a program that's completely outdoors. Maybe we'd have a shelter that we can meet in, and toilets and things like that. But rather than building a whole centre or school or building and attracting funding and having another centre to run, maybe just looking after the people in the places that we have by building in this new excursion idea. Obviously it won't make any money, and we want to have somebody who kind of runs that school, so or that program, so it will cost us a bit, but we feel like maybe that's the last thing in our journey. We would love to see that someone at some time takes over this journey of Childspace, and maybe they can build the last centre, or take it in whatever direction it goes. But it's not so much burning for us to do that anymore. We kind of feel like personally we're at a different stage in life now where, I don't know, maybe grandchildren won't be so far away, and we can, we've worked pretty hard for more than 30 years, never really taking a good break. So maybe now this is the time in our life where we get to relax a bit more, take some more time for ourselves and for our family, and yeah. My own personal, dream I never got to fulfill is actually I always saw myself teaching undergrad. So I wanted to teach teachers to be with children, because to me I felt like that was the most important part, to get the right people in front of children and to get to give them the best grounding in human development, and to have them really understand the beauty, the awe, the wonder of the developing brain. This is massive, and if I could teach in that undergrad space, that would be amazing. But it's quite complex to develop a training school, and that's the reason why they're at universities and so on. You need a big machine behind you to kind of get all the unit standards and so on. But it's funny because our own son Max is living my dream. He's training teachers at EIT in Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. So we're on the phone all the time, and he's we're comparing them. You could try this, and I'm coming up with these innovative ways to teach, to talk to him about teaching his course, and he's telling me about how much he's enjoying it, and so I see him living my dream. But it's wonderful. I guess the one thing that I would say to anyone who has chosen this profession is that you made a good choice. This is something that really matters. Plenty of people go to work every day and do something that, in the large scheme of things, doesn't really matter, and that must eat away at a soul day by day. When we come to work and we make a difference in the life of a child and their family, that builds a society, and that really matters. Yeah.
Totally. Oh, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. It's been really nice talking with you. I feel like I've strolled down memory lane and learned all these things about myself.
Well, thank you so much, Toni, for your words, your view, your passion. All the time you have really put into this work.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I would say, like, you see the tree, I can already see a big tree here. And as you say, for sure, you will have lots of people coming afterwards, keep going and working alongside this.
Thank you. I love it. It's work that drives me, and it'll sustain me for my whole life.
Yeah, Thank you so much.
Okay,
for everything.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I've strolled down memory lane and learned all these things about myself and what I believe. Probably need to go to a cleaner space.
Yeah, totally.
But we do less nature play. Yeah.
So I need to do it again. Okay. Totally. Wow, that's life.
Yeah, that's life. Yeah. Yeah.